Everybody, in this video we are going to talk about Constantine. All right, despite waves of persecution, Christianity continued to spread through the Roman Empire. It seemed that each wave of persecution actually succeeded only in bringing more people to the faith. So by the opening of the 4th century, a significant number of the Roman upper class women in particular had embraced Christianity. So while Christianity continued to spread, the beginning of the 4th century brought a slew of changes that would forever change the nature and the trajectory of the faith. Within a few short years, Christianity went from this illegal faith to the faith of the empire. The conversion of Emperor Constantine to Christianity remains one of the most significant events in Christian history. Now, there has been great debate about what has been gained and what was lost, but regardless of moral judgments, the event was pivotal religiously, politically, socially, and the legalization of the faith ushered in a new era of Christianity. So how did we get there? How did we get the legalization of Christianity within the Roman Empire when there had been so much widespread persecutions before this? All right, so we're going to step back a little bit and look at some of the causes here. On the screen, I have a map of the Roman tetrarchy. Okay, by the end of the 3rd century, the Roman Empire was in disrepair, constant warfare with the Persians to the east, the Germanic tribes to the north had overextended the Roman military, high taxes were draining the people, and waves of new religions, not just Christianity, but Manichaeanism, Mithraism, okay, were making their way through the empire, proving that people didn't have faith in these old Roman gods, okay? Responding to the increasing number of challenges, the empire was actually divided into fourths, or a tetrarchy. In 303, the 4 emperors launched the last Roman persecution, and despite the brutality of this particular wave, Christianity continued to flourish. Unsurprisingly, the tetrarchy proved to be an unstable ruling arrangement. Power plays and intrigue became a steady occurrence between the 4 rulers. And in 306, Constantinus, who was the ruler over Spain, Britain, and Gaul, died, and the army proclaimed his very ambitious son, Constantine, to be his replacement. 311, 3 of the 4 emperors, Constantine included, relaxed the persecution on Christians living in their lands. So when Constantinus died, the army picked Constantine to replace him. This was actually a fairly common occurrence in Rome, where the army would pick the emperor. Constantine was ambitious, to say the least. He was also cunning. He was an excellent politician and a great military strategist. All right, he didn't conquer the rest of the empire on a whim. Everything was planned out. Gonzalez goes into a lot more detail about his political schemings, but you get the point, and I don't need to repeat all of that. So, in 312, Constantine marched against his co-emperor Maxentius, who ruled in Italy and North Africa. Okay. On the eve of this decisive battle, Constantine received a vision. According to later reports, Constantine saw a sign in the sky. He saw the first 2 letters of Christ, the Chi Rho, and heard the words, "In this conquer." He put the symbol on the shields of his soldiers and went into battle. He took Rome and became the sole ruler in the western portion of the empire. Shortly after Constantine had consolidated power in the west, Licinius gained total control of the empire in the east. So now the empire is divided in half, and Constantine and Licinius held a very uneasy alliance. The 2 rulers issued a proclamation known as the Edict of Milan, which guaranteed freedom of religious practice in their lands. The edict restored confiscated Christian lands and property, and Christian clergy under Constantine even received special financial benefits from the state. All right, talk about a change of circumstances for Christians. All right. However, this alliance between Constantine and Licinius was destined to fail. They were both very ambitious, and they both desired sole control of the empire. So in 322, Constantine invaded Licinius's territory, starting a bloody civil war. In the end, Constantine prevailed. Now, like emperors before him, he wanted to recapture the glory of Rome, though he believed he could accomplish this better through worship to the Christian God rather than the old Roman deities. The state of Constantine's religious affiliation is not entirely clear during these years, and there's been a lot of scholarly debate about it. While he certainly allied himself with the Christians, and he credited the Christian God with handing him military victories, he also tolerated devotion to the Roman gods, and there is even some evidence that he mixed devotion to Christ with devotion to the invincible Son. Some have argued that Constantine was more of an opportunist than true believer, though this assessment is actually kind of problematic as well. Christianity was growing in popularity, but it was still a minority religion, with most Christians continuing to be members of the lower classes. Constantine would have found much stronger allies had he remained loyal to the Roman gods. However, regardless of Constantine's personal beliefs, life for Christians within the Roman Empire was fundamentally changed. The legalization of Christianity certainly felt like an answer to prayer after so many years of persecutions and hardships Christians had faced, that they had faced previous. Despite Constantine's alliance with Christianity, though, polytheist religions remained on similar footings within the empire for quite a while. It wasn't until 382, so much later, under the reign of Emperor Theodosius, that polytheism lost government support and funding. 10 years later, all forms of worship outside of Christianity was outlawed. Christianity thus became the sole religion of Rome. So, as miraculous as this legalization must have felt to the Christians, it was not entirely a smooth transition. Christian faith in opposition to Roman authorities had long been virtually indistinguishable. Each martyrdom was a resistance to earthly authority. Secret church services undermined the state, and the refusal to marry and participate in typical Roman family patterns disrupted social norms. All right, so suddenly martyrdom was off the table, at least within the Roman Empire. Church services were not only legal, but in many cases, Christians received funds to build churches. Celibate Christian life was celebrated instead of being reviled. Christians gained political import. All right, Christians who had once been fighting in arenas for their lives were now more likely to be spectators than victims. What began as a countercultural movement gradually became more accommodating of culture of typical Roman life, accepting norms and practices of the larger society. To this, there would always be pushback from certain Christians. We will see this in kind of the blossoming of the monastic movement, but some culture creep continued. Access to power changes institutions after all. All right, that is where I'm going to wrap up this particular video, though we have plenty more to talk about with the shift of the empire's religion and kind of what happens next.